Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Long time no see, you guys. I missed you. Hope you missed me as well. In today's video I want to share my thoughts on 9 fragrances that I received to test from Parfumat.ro. If you've been here on my channel for a while, most likely you remember I did a video where I was trying out I don't really know how many Turkish fragrance inspirations from Lorina, from Gloria, and from few different brands, Mad Perfumes, Mad Parfumeur, something like this. Anyways, in today's video, I want to share my thoughts on 8 fragrances from Parfumat, from the brand Parfumat, because they came out with their fragrances. And I also want to share my thoughts on a sample that they have sent me of, I don't really know how to pronounce this fragrance, Grecia, which in Romanian means Greece. Grecia, I will just call it Grecia. So yes, Grecia from French Avenue and other inspirations from Parfumat. First things first, 3 inspirations of Sol de Janeiro fragrances. I have here a fragrance called Violet Sugar. That's an inspiration of Cheirosa 59. I have here a fragrance called Vanilla Glow. That's an inspiration of Cheirosa 71. And last but not least, one of their best sellers, Brazilian Pistachio. That's an inspiration of Cheirosa 62. And also I have here other fragrances. I have here an inspiration of Bianco Latte, Bianco White 711. Now I've mentioned my thoughts on this fragrance. I had 2 10 ml decants of this fragrance and I've talked a little bit about it in the Bianco Latte versus dupes, but I will also mention briefly my thoughts on this again in today's video. Tiny Tiger. Tiny Tiger, this is their inspiration of, oh my god, what was that fragrance called? The one that also Paris Corner has Rifaka, that's an inspiration of that fragrance. Oh, my mind just went blank. I will add a fragrance here on the screen. A fragrance called Raspberry Paradise. This is their inspiration of one of the latest, if not the latest, cousin, let's just say, in the Angels Share family, Angels Share Paradise, and 2 other fragrances, Maracuja, which is an inspiration of Oud Maracuja from Maison Crivelli, and last but not least, Italia, which is an inspiration of Italica from Zerjo, from the Casa Morati line. So we have a lot of fragrances, so let's not waste any more minutes. This video is not sponsored. I'm not paid to discuss these fragrances. They were sent to me, but like I've mentioned, the video is not sponsored. So with this disclaimer out of the way, let's start. You know what? Let's start with the ones that are inspired by Sol de Janeiro, because I was so excited to try these ones. They reached out to me and they asked me if I would like to test Brazilian Pistachio, and I said yes. And they also these 2 fragrances, so these I chose them, and the rest they kind of surprised me with them. With which one to start? So you know what, let's start with the first one. Let's start with Brazilian Pistachio. This, maybe I will do a short where I will compare Brazilian Pistachio with Anhar Dune from Zimaya, because Zimaya also has a fragrance that, even though apparently it was not marketed or it was not released as an inspiration to Boom Boom Cream or Cheirosa 62, but they share a lot of similarities. So let me just spray this fragrance somewhere as far away as possible from my coffee. From the first sniff, if you smelled Boom Boom Cream or if you smell the body spray Cheirosa 62, you will get a very similar feeling here as well. Dare I say, I have the body, it's not a body butter, the body lotion. To me, the body lotion is a tad more, I have it here on my hand, is a tad more toasted, nutty, almost a tad salty. I don't pick up the toasted, nutty quality. It's more of a nutty quality per se rather than toasted, but this opens up with, to my nose, tropical fruits. Think, I don't know, like passion fruit puree or something like this. You have this beautiful creamy tropical fruity facet with, of course, the almond, with the pistachio in the background, with vanilla, something a little bit powdery. This beautiful gentle caramel facet, but the caramel doesn't overshine the note. No, to me it just adds again another layer of something sweet. So this is sweet, you guys. But out of these 3 fragrances, I cannot even say that this is the sweetest. I feel like this one, Vanilla Glow, that's inspired by Sol de Janeiro's Cheirosa 71, is the sweetest. This to me, yeah. Legit, when I smell it, I'm thinking Boom Boom Cream, I'm thinking Sol de Janeiro. Cheirosa 62, it generally has the same feeling. Dare I say, it's a little bit more fruity forward and vanillic forward, less caramel heavy and less, again, it lacks the toasted quality that I find in Cheirosa 62. But besides this, it's almost like a spot on, you guys. Oh my god. Very similar, very similar. So if you love that body spray, or perhaps you have a sister, a cousin, a friend, and you know she loves that body spray, and who knows, maybe her birthday is coming up or somewhat of a special occasion and you would like to gift her fragrance, this would be an amazing replacement for that body spray. Not only it lasts longer, now when I mean it lasts longer, don't think this lasts like 10, 12 hours, because at least on my skin it doesn't. On clothes, yes, I can smell it even the next day, in my hair easily the next day, but I feel like, where to put this, I feel like on my skin, this lasts a good 5 hours, 5.5 hours. Of course, it depends how moisturized my skin is, it depends on a lot more factors, but I'd say briefly, expect 5.5 hours on my skin, and fragrances don't last on my skin. And if you think that the body spray lasts around 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, 3 hours maximum, yeah, this lasts much more than that. And I have a feeling if fragrances last better on your skin, I think this could go past the 6 hour mark. Of course, it would be more of a skin scent by then, although I do feel like this has much more oomph about it. So these are my brief thoughts on this fragrance. What can I tell you? Beautiful inspiration. Generally nothing to complain, like the price is great, performance is average or slightly above average, like performance is not abysmal, but it's neither a skin scent. And they really managed to capture the essence of Cheirosa 62 with what I've mentioned. Less toasted. The nutty quality does shine indeed, but it doesn't have that toasted, almost toasted with something caramelly of an undertone. There I say it's a little bit more creamy, fruity, round around the edges, and the vanilla shines a bit more to my nose, but it's a beautiful inspiration. Moving on to a fragrance that I wore quite a lot. Quite a lot. Oh, I cannot speak. Quite a lot lately. This is Violet Sugar. And this, so at a certain point, I even wanted to get the body spray, the Cheirosa 59. But I kept, every time I would go to my local Sephora, I would try that one on my skin. And unfortunately, it doesn't last on my skin. Like after 2 hours, I'm barely able to smell it. Now, bear in mind, if you don't epilate, if you don't shave, if perhaps you have more oily skin, if, I don't know, performance on skin varies. If it's summer, if it's winter, a lot of factors go into this. But on my skin, fragrances in general tend to like dissipate quite fast. I shave, I epilate, I don't have one trace of hair on my arm. So the fragrance doesn't have anything to stick to, you know? So this is why it doesn't last. But back to this fragrance, this puts in the spotlight, let's say, a candied violet accord. But a candied violet accord, not only that the violet feels candied and very flavored, let's say, almost something you'd eat, like a candied violet you'd eat or something like this, but it has a beautiful sugary facet in the background that emphasizes even more the sugariness of the fragrance. And I feel like in the opening, what stands out to me the most, it almost has this cheesecake undertone. And let me describe you what I mean by this, because when you hear cheesecake, some of you might be like, yes, some of you might be like, oh my god, no. To me, it smells like a cheesecake. So it's that sweet cheese, you know, it's creamy, sweet, a pinch of vanilla there. And you decorate that cheesecake with some red fruits. I do pick up something like forest berries. Maybe it's just in my mind because this smells purple, so maybe my mind goes into that direction a little bit. But I do pick up almost like this forest berry, red fruity type of accord in the background. So it's almost like you have a cheesecake with a pinch of vanilla in the batter mix, I don't know how it's called, and you'd decorate it with lots and lots and lots and lots of powdered sugar everywhere, and you'd put some candied violet for decoration purposes. To me, this is how the fragrance smells like in the opening. So this is sweet, but it almost has this sweet and, how to describe it, like not sweet and tangy, sweet and sour, almost like sweet and sour is that specific flavor when you take a bite of a forest berry flavored cheesecake or something like this, you know? So it's slightly sweet for sure, very sweet, but slightly sour at the same time. This is how that creamy round accord translates to my nose in the opening. But as the fragrance develops, you lose that cheesecake-like facet, let's just say 20 something minutes in. And to me, the violet is the spotlight of the fragrance. This smells purple, but not just purple, think iris, no, like a very sweet, borderline candied floral accord. And I do start to pick up gentle vanillic accents, but in a way it's behind that violet accord, so they act more as facets to the violet accord to dress it up a bit. Yeah, and soft woody accord. This to me, in a way, it's a very designer-esque blend, especially from the heart till the dry down. The opening to me gives me something edible for some reason, but in the heart it loses that creamy cheesecake-like facet, and then again in the dry down I'd say it's more of the sweet candied violet with a little bit of vanilla and with that gentle dry woody accord, and of course the sugary facet. Now look you guys, this to me, this is that effortlessly chic, modern, grab and go, day to day, you wear it in whatever and whenever. in whatever scenario and whenever you want. It's that kind of fragrance that you could wear it to your work. It's that kind of fragrance you could wear it on a date night. If you have this fragrance in your collection, by the way, and if you have lashes from French Avenue, I would highly recommend you to layer the two. Just yesterday I did this combo. I've applied Victoria's Secret Lavender Vanilla Body Lotion everywhere. I've applied lashes, let's just say briefly around 10 sprays, and then I came with around 6 sprays of this fragrance on top of lashes in certain places, and they work so well together. So yes, I think this is the one that surprised me the most. This and this next one, but this is not as wearable. I'd say this is much more wearable. If you love the one from Sol de Janeiro and you wanted to try something that's much more affordable but lasts a little bit longer, I would highly encourage you to try out this one. Why not? And last but not least, let me see. I kind of need to hurry a little bit because we have a lot of fragrances to discuss. Vanilla Glow. Oh my god, you guys, this, let me spray it there. I can already smell it in the air. I feel like this, out of the three, this is the thickest, the gooeyest, the not the creamiest necessarily, but the most complex and robust composition. This legit smells like something you'd eat. So unless you are one who loves ultra photorealistic edible gourmand fragrances, I'm not sure you will enjoy it. But if you're one who loves ultra photorealistic gourmand fragrances, take this one into account. You know how this smells like, you guys? This smells like buttery white chocolate, the kind that feels, it almost feels buttery sweet. No, buttery texture-wise, very sweet, sweetness-wise, that just melts in your mouth when you taste it, with different nuts inside. Add a thick, sticky caramel facet to it. A pinch of vanilla again there in the background to maintain the sweetness and the roundness of the fragrance. But the vanilla, it's more your edible gourmand style of vanilla. A touch of something salty there, but not very salty. This has layers upon layers of different sweet compositions. Oh, different sweet accents. Sweet from the white chocolate, but you can actually smell the white chocolate and you can actually feel the texture of the white chocolate. So this is a very, again, robust composition. This has beautiful layers to it. You know, it's a very layered fragrance. It's not the kind of scent that smells sweet, but it's flat. Usually that's a given that a fragrance is quite affordable if the texture doesn't match what you're smelling. But here the texture matches what I'm smelling. Wow. If you love Cheirosa 71 and if you wanted to try something very similar, I would highly encourage you to test this one. I think they sell samples of these fragrances on their website. Sample it first, see how you feel about it. But if you love that vibe in general, try it, because I'm telling you, it smells ultra photorealistic, you know? No, I'm joking. It generally smells photorealistic, and I like that the scent maintains the composition, maintains the thickness, the richness. You know, it's not like it wows you, it like sweeps you off your feet in the opening, but then in the heart and in the dry down, it's just like meh. No, I really like, and all these three fragrances maintain their body throughout the development. Moving on to the other fragrances, let me share my thoughts on this fragrance, Raspberry Paradise. You know, I love the DNA of Angel's Share, and I really love in the inspirational world, because I do not have the OG. I love Royal Blend from French Avenue, and I love Nayam's Decadent. I keep mixing up Decadent and Nayam. One is the brand, one is the name. Nayam's Decadent, beautiful fragrances. If you have the chance to test any of the two, and if you are on the hunt for an inspiration of Angel's Share, I'd say test one of those two fragrances. Now, this is supposed to smell like Angel's Share with added raspberry. It generally has that molecular apple pie facet that you have in Royal Blend as well. So it's this dry, woody, molecular apple accord with something spicy, cinnamony. But imagine somewhere near that, you have this raspberry sorbet or something like this, or like raspberry puree that you just taken out from the fridge, from the freezer, because it feels quite cold and cooling at the same time to me. Yeah. So I'd say in the opening, this feels quite molecular, quite bright and light and molecular in a way. Yeah, very modern, androgynous type of blend. I like what the raspberry adds to the fragrance. I feel like it adds somewhat of this lightheartedness, some playfulness to the blend, so it doesn't feel somewhat hipstery, androgynous. To me, this is the vibe of Angel's Share. You know, it's a powerful fragrance. It's a fragrance that exudes confidence, exudes this statement facet, but to me, what I like about it is that it feels at the same time very hipsterish, very modern, androgynous. Hipsterish is that kind of fragrance that shines just as beautiful as a woman, on a woman, as beautiful it shines on a man as well. You'd be tempted to think that this is their summery Angel Share. I don't really know what to tell you guys. I definitely could wear this one in the summertime, but don't think this is that Angel Share, but make it more bright light and for the summertime, because to me, yes, the raspberry facet lingers, but you remember how I said that in the opening, the fragrance feels quite molecular, quite bright, light and airy, but in a very molecular way. Give this fragrance again 10-15 minutes and the base, the body of the fragrance starts to get much more thick, much more dense, much more heavy. You still have that beautiful apple with the cinnamon that I love. I'm a sucker for everything with cinnamon in fragrances. The raspberry, from feeling quite, like I've mentioned, raspberry sorbet taken out from the fridge or from the freezer, I feel like it kind of goes in the background a little bit more, so you have raspberry accent, but the raspberry is not the spotlight. To move slowly but surely in the background, and it leaves room for the woody accord to shine, and to me the woody accord really starts to shine here. It feels dry, but it almost has this, a touch of something balsamic perhaps, and oak moss. I do start to pick oak moss, so you have this interesting composition, so it feels rich and layered and nuanced, something ambery, translucent and robust. Add a dry yet very present woody accord. Don't think Cashmere is not that type that's very light and bright and breezy, you know, and very dry, like unnaturally dry. No, it's not that type of wood accord. To me, it feels dry yet rich at the same time, but add a touch of oak moss that adds a little bit of greenness to the fragrance. Add that beautiful spicy apple pie facet, and of course the raspberry. Now this, to me, this is again a signature worthy style of fragrance. Like if you know you love the DNA of Angel Share, and you were on the lookout, I guess you could say, for an inspiration, why not get a sample, get a decant of this fragrance if you have access to them and test it. Keep in mind, I'd say compared to Royal Blend, compared to Decadent from Nayam, the base is much more thick and robust and intense here. The other two feel much more like your airy, molecular, bright, airy light, that type of composition, you know. Also think amber rhythm, same brightness, same airiness, same molecular feeling to the composition. They feel cloud-like, but a very thick and dense cloud of fragrance. This to me has a much more of a deeper, darker base, but it's a beautiful release. And who would have thought that adding raspberry to the DNA of Angel Share could work so well? Let's move on to something that's a little bit too polarizing for me. I have here 714 Maracuja. Now this is for those who are not afraid to rock leather facets in their fragrances, but a leather accord, of course it's paired with something tropical and fruity, but this is for the bold ones out there. This is for those who are very courageous. I feel like I don't know if I am as bold as I used to be back in the day to rock something like this. So in the opening, like I've mentioned, for a brief second, it smells like tutti frutti. I'll add a photo. If you know the smell and the taste of that juice, for like 3 seconds, you have that same facet here as well. But then it changes. To me, think something like sweet mandarin. So first things first, it's a fruity accord. I can't say that I pinpoint a particular fruity facet. To me, it smells yellow, tropical. So think passion fruit, think a drop of pineapple, think a drop of sweet orange, something like this. It feels vibrant, it feels fun, it feels very summer-esque and very uplifting in a way. But then you have the contrast of the leather accord, and the leather really adds such a contrast, you guys. To me, like, how to even describe you? You know, the fruity accord feels fun, it feels sweet, it has this, like this fruit juice undertone about it, but not the type that's homemade, no, the one that you buy from store. So in a way artificial, but artificial in a nice way, like very, very flavored, you know what I mean? A dash of passion fruit, a dash of something pineapple-like, a dash of something sweet citrus. But then you have the leather that in a way adds a completely different dimension to the fragrance. So the leather accord here is done in a bold way. The leather accord here, it's done in a way to stand out and to stand off in a way. It smells funky, like a funky new leather bag or like a funky, dusty old leather jacket, that type, but the leather accord feels extremely realistic and so layered again. Slowly but surely the fruity accord moves a little bit behind the leather accord. So first when I smell it, I pick up the leather and then the fruity accord that kind of tames a little bit, but not really tames because the leather still feels quite bold and unapologetic. But this is such a loud fragrance, and again, nothing sharp, nothing flat, nothing cheap about it, nothing alcoholic. This feels quite layered, quite challenging also, but I think this on the right person has the potential to be a showstopper. Not on me. Gentle dark green accent, something a little bit woody, something a little bit balsamic that support all the other notes. So yeah. This one, Maracuja, like 714 Maracuja, is for those who want loud fragrances. Again, if you're interested, I could do a short where I compare this one from Parfumat with Rogue's version of Oud Maracuja. But I'm not gonna make the video longer by comparing the two in today's video. Moving on to which one to continue with. Okay, so let me briefly mention this fragrance, Bianco White 711. That's a dupe to Bianco Latte. I don't know if it shows, but I've actually worn this one. Yeah, this is such a comforting fragrance for me, such a cozy, comforting scent profile. I've mentioned this version from Parfumat when I done the OG versus dupes for Bianco Latte. Beautiful inspiration, you guys, very beautiful inspiration. Not as widely available as other inspirations are, but it's a beautiful one for sure. Lactonic, a glass of milk with honey, and grated tonka beans. This is how it smells like to me. This is so cozy and comforting and cocooning. It feels like a warm hug. It feels like a warm hug when you need it, like a warm hug, or like a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, a cup of, I don't know what beverage. When it's very rainy outside, you know, it has this beautiful comforting facet. Yeah, the honey really starts to shine now. I had two other 10 ml decants of this one, and I have to say I do enjoy it a lot. If you wanted to test another inspiration of Bianco Latte, this one really lasts as well. Should I show you how oily this fragrance is? Because I remember when I've tried it, hold on, because I have hair here on my face. I remember when I've tried it from the decant, it felt so oily. So let me just show you. So let me just take a second for the alcohol to evaporate. And let me show you how oily this fragrance is. I think this is one of the oiliest inspirations of Bianco Latte I've tried. Wait, just look. Let me see how to show you, because the light is, do you see there? And keep in mind the light is very strong. Do you see how oily this fragrance is? Again, when I rub it in, it feels like I am rubbing oil. Do you see? Yeah, but see, the scent does justice to the DNA of Bianco Latte. I feel like it's not as tonka forward. The honey facet is a little bit more amplified, but again, I'm a sucker for this DNA. I find it when I'm in my head, when I'm going through a rough patch in my life, whenever I feel like I want or I need something cozy and comforting, this DNA is what I reach for. And I wore this one again, like you saw, before I went to sleep. I really like how the honey shines here. It feels like a glass of warm milk with a lot of honey. A touch of something vanillic there also. I feel like if you're not a fan of tonka in fragrances, and if you're not a fan of what the tonka bean adds here in the DNA of Bianco Latte, this is one of those fragrances that's not as tonka dominant as other inspirations. I'd say this is mainly more lactonic with a lot of syrupy honey. This is so beautiful. This is so beautiful, and it calms my mind whenever I smell this fragrance. And with a touch of something vanillic there. So yeah, we have two fragrances left. Tiny Tiger. What was that fragrance called? Because it was everywhere. It was Babycat. Babycat. This is an inspiration of Babycat from Yves Saint Laurent. But let me talk a little bit. Let me talk first about this fragrance, Italia 1888, because this one I've actually worn it. This is an explosion of gourmand facets to me. Almond essence, lots and lots and lots of almond essence, and cherry essence for some reason. In the first few seconds in the opening, I do pick up such a sweet and very flavored almond essence, the one you use for baking purposes, but I also pick up something cherry-like here. Maybe it's because of the way the almond accord is done, I'm not really sure, but I pick up this beautiful almond essence, like lots and lots of almond essence with cherry and powder sugar. In the opening it feels a little bit cold, but then out of nowhere this fragrance goes so warm, it almost feels like it exudes heat from within. Now, as I gave it, let's just say 1 or 2 minutes, I feel like it's the almond accord that shines the most. Something spicy, gentle spicy accent with a milky accord in the background. I can't say that I pick up the cherry anymore. I feel like the cherry facet has faded away, but it slowly but surely starts to get very warm. So from feeling quite cold, it starts to get very warm. But this fragrance in the heart goes so creamy, milky, but not milky. Think again, the DNA of Bianco Latte, a different type of milky accord. And also the milky accord is not as highlighted here. To me, in a way, it acts as a base in the background to support all the other notes and to just give them this creamy round around the edges effect in the heart. Because then in the last bits of the dry down, to me, it's the almond accord with gentle, dry, woodsy facets and something a little bit airy and musky that linger on my skin. But this is sweet throughout the development. Very, extremely borderline sickly sweet in the opening, very sweet in the heart, very sweet in the dry down. But if you're one who loves sweet fragrances, especially an almond accord done in such a way, with something powdery, sugary, with something a little bit spicy, with something a little bit creamy, lactonic, maybe is the sandalwood here that gives me such a feeling, with a little bit of something vanillic, a touch of caramel. So this again is different sweet gourmand accents that contribute to the overall sweetness of the fragrance. But out of all these gourmand accents, to me the one that shines the most and is the spotlight is the almond accord. And then all the others are, let's just say, in behind the almond accord, adding different facets and accents to the almond accord. Now, this one to me, it's an acquired taste. I think this is the kind of fragrance that unless you have a taste for such layered, ultra sweet fragrances, is the kind of fragrance that you can find it quite, is the kind of fragrance that wears you instead of you wearing the fragrance, and it's also the kind of fragrance that you can find suffocating, unbearable to wear it. I am one who loves sweet fragrances, and even for me the opening is sweet, you guys, like sweet, you know what I mean? So let's move on to the last fragrance from Parfumat, and then I will mention my thoughts on the one from French Avenue. This is called Tiny Tiger 759. Like I've mentioned, this is their inspiration of Babycat from Yves Saint Laurent. I haven't tried yet Rifacat, so I'm not going to be able to compare it with Rifacat, but I can tell you this again is an acquired taste. This, you guys, so it has something peppery, spicy. Think the pepper accord in This Is Him from Zadig and Voltaire, but of course in a different combination here. But it's very peppery. It almost feels like it tickles your nose when you smell it. With something green, I don't know, I smell something like cardamom. It's almost like a cardamom incense stick, something like this, because it's slightly smoky, slightly spicy green, peppery. And on my skin especially, I feel like here on paper this aspect doesn't develop, at least not at this moment on, but I feel like on my skin it has something creamy and vanillic about it as well. So my camera cut again. I had no idea what I was talking about, but I know for sure I was, at least in the last few seconds, until I realized I was discussing this fragrance, and I was telling you how this fragrance to me, the inspiration of Babycat, this tiny tiger, the name Tiny Tiger, this is not tiny. Tiger, yes, in a way, but more like Black Panther, if you ask me, because this is quite mysterious. It has, yeah, it's quite mysterious, intriguing, alluring, that type of fragrance. And what I was telling you is that this is a perfect unisex. I think it shines on men just as beautiful as it shines on women. I don't think this is the kind of fragrance that feels too masculine or too feminine to me. If you love fragrances like Rahba by Latava, but again, think a more elevated upscale, make it a little bit more niche, a little bit more mysterious version. Not to say that they smell like, because they don't, but I told you what similarities I find between the two. And also, if you love fragrances like Majda Al Sultan, I think this one could be something you'd enjoy as well. But if you are interested, test, sample, get a decant, you guys, and test them on your skin and see how you feel about them. Like I told you plenty of times, fragrances can be subjective. What works for me might not work for you, vice versa. Even if you resonate with, let's just say, a certain part of my style when it comes to fragrances, maybe you don't resonate fully with my taste in fragrances. So yes, also they provided my channel a discount code. I think it's AFG10 for 10% off. Feel free to use it, feel free to not use it. I don't want to push my discount code down on your throat. And last but not least, let me mention my thoughts on Grecia from French Avenue. This to me, now look, the video is already very long, so this will be, like I've mentioned, more of a first impressions. I will most definitely give you an update on all of these fragrances once I get a little bit more time to wear some of them, to better test others, and to see maybe how they will evolve once they get to sit a little bit. But this one, let me just do a spray. This to me, in a nutshell, this is the intermediary between Lactea Divina from Paris Corner and Her Confession by Lattafa. And what I mean by this, so this is definitely much more milky, lactonic forward than Her Confession. It has the beautiful milky accord, but the milky accord doesn't feel as buttery thick as it feels in Lactea Divina. It has the beautiful white florals, the jasmine, the tuberose that feel not really heady, but they do feel quite rich and decadent, but it's almost like you have jasmine petals, tuberose petals in a glass of milk or something like this. So this is not a very sweet composition. Gentle, slight tonka bean accent, but the tonka bean definitely doesn't shine as much as it shines in Lactea Divina. So in a way, if you felt like Her Confession was too floral forward, too airy, too musky, not enough milky forward, but if you also felt like Lactea Divina was too tonka forward, if you found the tonka bean a little bit overwhelming or too suffocating for your style or taste, I feel like this is the perfect in-between. Now I still have to test a little bit the performance, but again, this will give you Blanche Bete. This has the same, almost like a satiny feeling like Blanche Bete has, you know, like a beautiful satin dress, like I've mentioned in the review where I was discussing Blanche Bete, Lactea Divina, Her Confession. To me, Blanche Bete, it's the kind of fragrance that naturally grabs someone's attention without trying, you know, it's just like a beautiful satin dress that naturally hugs your figure. It doesn't show too much, but it hugs your figure in the right places, you know, and with every step, with every move, it just like flows in a way on your body. To me, this is how Blanche Bete feels like as a fragrance. It has something so soft and feminine and womanly about it, but it's sophisticated at the same time, but it's not the kind of fragrance that screams, that shouts. Yeah, I feel like this gives me a very similar effect. I have to see if I pick up the cocoa powder Facet in the dry down, because when I've tested it, I don't remember picking it up. But yeah, briefly, if again you love Blanche Bete, if you found Her Confession too floral forward, too airy, too musky, because this is why I felt like Her Confession by Lattafa didn't surprise me, because it's a beautiful creation, but I felt like I really love the lactonic accord in Blanche Bete, and I felt like I didn't really get the same milky lactonic feeling in Her Confession, but I know some appreciate it for this exact reason, because they don't really tolerate well very decadent lactonic facets. But if you wanted a lactonic accord that's more emphasized than the one in Her Confession, but less than the one in Lactea Divina, try this fragrance. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. This is everything I wanted to tell you. I have to close off the video because I don't have any space left. I will see you in my next video. If you want to tell me anything, please put it in the comment section, and I promise that I will get back to you. If you've tried any of these fragrances from Parfumat, make sure to let me know what you think about them in the comment section. I will see you in my next video, but until then, I want to wish you an amazing day wherever you are. Bye, guys.